begin. um, so let's say that you're really thirsty and you want to have a glass of water. So would you go to the bathroom to find a glass of water, or would you go straight to your kitchen, open your cabinets and grab a glass and have some water? Um, so I believe that most of you would choose option number two. And what I wanted to say with this is that objects are arranged not in a random way in our world, but they're following some rules.
Sorry to interrupt one more time.
These rules.
I'm not seeing presenter. So we're just looking at your title slide right now. I think you may
Okay,
need to
great.
start. And
Maybe just.
maybe sharing the wrong screen or something like that. Sorry.
No worries. Maybe it's my mistake. I'm sharing the whole screen, so I don't know why is this happening.
Um,
Um, maybe just leave it like this. Is that okay? Or
okay. So if you just go through your slides in this mode, we'll be able to see everything. But if you're scrolling through them in presentation mode, we may not be able to see them. So if you just go back to your regular PowerPoint and you can click through the slides.
I think it's a bad internet connection. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
So yeah, just go ahead and share your regular screen
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you can take us through the slides. I think that'll work. But let's see.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I should
Okay, now we're on the
try
third
one
slide.
more time.
Now we're looking at
Now.
the slide, and Emily suggests that you turn off your video. That may work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. Or I will
Can you
Try
click?
and put it in full screen on the
okay. So
presenter
maybe
screen.
now you can see. No. Okay.
All right, and then can you go one slide forward and one slide back to make sure we're actually seeing the right thing? Because I think
Yeah.
it's frozen in some way or something like that. Um,
Okay. Maybe I should leave it like that and.
so I could also share the slides if you put a link to them in the chat. Oh no, I guess it's on
No, it's
PowerPoint.
okay. Continue. It will be fine. So, okay. So, what I was saying is that the arrangement of the objects in the world, it's not random. It follows a few rules. These rules um, have to do about the contextual relations between the objects and the scenes that they are in, they're found in, and these are semantic rules. And there are also some rules about the spatial relations between scenes and objects, and these are the syntactic rules. So, okay, now maybe I should change my presentation a bit. So let's say that what would happen if one day you would walk into your kitchen and see a pillow on
So
your stove.
we're still looking at the third slide,
That would be
unfortunately. I think your share is frozen
okay.
right now. Maybe what we should do is go to Yella's presentation, and you can send me your slides, and then I can share them from my screen while you present them.
Yeah, yes, that would be
Okay,
that would
yeah.
be good.
So
So
why
sorry
don't we
about
do
that.
that? Yella, we'll stop the recording, and we can turn it over to you. All right.
And Jonathan.
One moment. Uh, Rania,
Uh,
can I share from my screen?
I'm
Or you think
I'm
it'll work?
sharing my screen.
Okay.
I thought that I could try again because
Let's try it again. Go ahead.
I downloaded the application, so maybe that was the issue.
Okay.
I was trying to log in from the browser. So...
Okay. Yeah, we can see your mouse now, which is good. So go ahead and start the presentation.
That's a good sign.
Yep.
Okay.
Just start the slideshow.
Yeah.
Great.
Give me a minute. Thank you. Okay. So now?
Good. Looks good.
Good. Great. Okay, so let's start over. Hello again, everyone. So now we're going to talk about the role of schema violations and attention of naturalistic scenes on timing. So let's start again with our introduction. Again, let's say that you're very thirsty and you craving a glass of water. So would you go straight to the bathroom to find a glass of water, or would you go to the kitchen? I believe most of you would choose option number 2. And what I wanted to say with this is that the arrangement of objects in the world, it's not random, but it follows a few rules. There are rules that have to do with the contextual relations between objects and scenes, and these are the semantic rules. And there are also rules about the spatial relations of scenes and objects, which are the syntactic rules. Now, what happens in case of violations of these rules? If, let's say, one morning you go to the bathroom and see your towel floating in the air, or you can walk in your kitchen and see a pillow in your stove instead of a pan, maybe. So what happens in cases like that? So the good thing is that there is a lot of interest for this type of violations, and we have plenty of literature and very interesting research on this. So on the other hand, the findings are a bit contradictory. So on the one hand, we have lots of research and findings supporting that this type of violations and these objects attract attention of the viewer even before they become fully identified by them. On the other hand, there is also lots of research supporting that these types of violations and these objects are identified slower and less accurate by the viewers. One of these research is quite, let's say, it was 2009, okay, yeah, Vaughan Henderson. So what did they say? In their research, they found that this type of violations needs attention in order to be processed. And more importantly, they need syntactic violations need even more attention in order to be resolved by a viewer. So we're not quite sure if which is the actual role of attention in this case. Now, what have these violations to do with timing and time perception? So this question, Clark and Porvanova tried to answer this question. So they investigated the duration perception of images, including semantic only violations. So here you can see a few images of their stimuli. So they show these images to the participants. They asked to reproduce their duration, and they found that indeed the images with semantic violations were overestimated compared to the no violations images. And they also used an attention manipulation in their research, and they found that this duration overestimation was independent of this specific attention manipulation. However, there is also evidence that subjective time expansion is indeed driven by attentional accounts. So again, we're not sure what happens here. I'm sure that until now you have two main questions. The first should be, okay, what about the syntactic violations? I talked to you about the previous research about semantic violations, but what about syntactic violations? Do they, can they change time perception in the same way or in a different way or in no way? So we're not sure about that. And which is the role of attention? Is attention involved in this duration duration overestimation? What happens here? So we're here to address this gap, and with our research, we're going to examine if both semantic and syntactic violations affect duration judgments, and if this has to do with attention allocation to the violation. So let's go to our first experiment. For our first and second experiment, actually, we utilized an oddball paradigm along with naturalistic visual scenes with or without violation. So we had a stream of 9 images. 8 of them were no violation images, and they were identical, and they had the same duration. And one of them was the oddball, let's say. So the oddball was a different image, an image with a semantic or a syntactic violation. And the duration of the oddball was different and was between 300 and 700 milliseconds. So it was fluctuating. And in this tree, the oddball could be found between the 5th and the 8th position. So participants view this stream of images, and at the end, in its trial, it was a really easy question. We asked them if they believe that this different image was longer or shorter than the other ones. So here you can see an example of one trial of our experiment. I believe you can see the video. So these are all the same pictures, and this was a different one. So that's an example of the oddball paradigm that we used in our research. Now, for our stimuli, we used the Seagram database. It's a database with naturalistic images of real-world scenes. We used 3 scenes. For each scene, we had the no violation image, a violation with a syntactic, an image with a syntactic violation, and an image with a semantic violation. So here you can see the cup floating in the air for the syntactic violation. And here, instead of a cup in the dishwasher, you can see the toilet paper. So this is an example of our stimuli. Now, our findings. First of all, we estimated the point of subjective equality for each participant by fitting the psychometric function. the point of subjective equality was the duration of the oddball, for which the probability of giving the answer longer was 50%. So actually it was this this duration of the oddball that the participants couldn't decide if the oddball was longer or shorter from the standard images. And here is our findings. So for the syntactic violations, the point of subjective equality was at 465 milliseconds. So for the syntactic violations, we had a duration overestimation. Our participants perceived an oddball with duration 465 milliseconds as lasting 500 milliseconds, which was the duration of the standard stimuli. So we have an overestimation of the duration of the oddball. But now, for the semantic violations, the point of subjective equality was at 524 milliseconds, which means that participants underestimated the duration of this stimuli, this violation, the semantic violation. So we can see a big difference between the two types of violations. Of course, we further analyzed our findings. Here we have our results from a repeated measures ANOVA between violation type and scene type. Just a reminder that we used 3 different scenes in our research. So we had the main effect of violation type as we expected. Like I said earlier, we have a difference between semantic and syntactic violations point of subjective equality. We also had the main effect of scene. One of our scenes, scene number 2, it was this one, had the higher PSE compared to the 2 other ones. And finally, we also had an interaction, a significant interaction between violation type and scene. So this scene, number 2, was underestimated at a larger degree, comparing to scene number 3, which was this one. But only in the case of semantic violations, we didn't have such evidence for the syntactic ones. So, okay, until now, I talked to you about the differences between semantic and syntactic violations on timing. But at the beginning of this presentation, I also mentioned the role of attention. And we really wanted to see if these results were stemming from an attention allocation to the violations, or if attention didn't have to do with these duration estimations. So we did the second experiment. I'm not going to talk to you about the methods because it was actually almost the same as the first one. We used again an oddball paradigm, but of course we had to add an attention manipulation for this second experiment, and that's what we did. We decided to increase the luminance contrast of target objects as there was evidence that this can attract attention. And so that's an example of our stimuli with the contrast manipulation. And we only used scene 1 and scene 2 from experiment 1. So what we found here, as you can see in this figure, indeed we had the main effect of of contrast. So that means that since with the contrast manipulation, the increased luminance contrast had a lower, PSE, point of subjective equality, meaning that our findings probably had to do with attention. Again, we found an effect of violation type. So you can see that, this is the semantic, and this is the syntactic violations. And this is the no contrast condition. This is the contrast condition. Again, we had the main effect of violation type, the main effect of sin. But as you can see, for the semantic violations, even with the contrast manipulation, we still have this underestimation, but it's not as strong as it was before. But it still remains there. So, to close this presentation, what we learned from this study, what we can keep in mind from these findings. So, we believe that semantic and syntactic violations have a different processing mechanism, and that reflects on their difference in duration estimations. So for the semantic violations, we had a duration underestimation of the stimuli, the images containing them. And we believe that this was due to the fact that this type of violations have a more demanding processing, and that holds attention away from time. So participants try to resolve this violation, and that hold them away from the time estimation. So we have this underestimation. And we also believe, due to our findings, that these semantic violations might interact with other perceptual properties of objects, like the color or the luminance. On the other hand, syntactic violations are leading to duration overestimation, and maybe they are too old for the participants to try to resolve them. So we don't have the same effect as we had for the semantic violations. They are too old, and that actually allows the temporal oddball effect to be present. And that's why we have this duration overestimation in the case of syntactic violations. And lastly, for the attention, we, again, depending on our findings, we believe that this time dilation effect is driven by attentional accounts. However, as I already mentioned, the effect of semantic violations is still there. We can still see the underestimation, but it wasn't as strong as it was without the contrast manipulation. And we need to further investigate the interaction between semantic violations and the perceptual saliency of objects, like their brightness or color, or even their orientation. So that's all from me. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Rania, for the presentation. That's a really interesting work of yours. I will first go through our attendees list to see if there are questions. I have a couple of questions myself. You can stop also sharing your screen unless you want that for our understanding.
No.
Just give me a minute to make sure that. Okay, in the chat. Okay, then shall I ask my question and then see if anyone else has a question? Well, in your first experiment that was replicated in the second as well, I understood the first main effect of the type of violation, and I was wondering what are your thoughts based on the second main effect of the scene that they actually saw. I think scene 2 was the one with the kitchen. So, what are your thoughts on that? Why you maybe found this effect on this scene and not on another one? And then the second question follow-ups my first. It has to do with the interaction effects that you saw on the violation and the type of the scene.
Okay, great question. Thank you. So in both cases, we believe that these differences we saw in our results between the 3 different scenes we used have to do with maybe the differences in the saliency of the images, as I talked as I said before, maybe this has to do with the color or the orientation or the location of the objects in the scene. And this is something that we're going to further investigate in our following research. So yeah, we believe that apart from the violations per se, maybe some other aspects of the scenes leads to this type of to these findings, let's say these differences.
Okay, and this is.
Stay tuned. We'll have a better answer on this question in maybe a few months, hopefully.
Okay, because definitely it's a question that comes up based on the results. So I guess you have your plans to control that and see what comes out of it. So this question leads me to the second, which is not exactly a question. It's my conclusion based on your presentation and just to double check. So based on your findings and the 2 types of violation, my understanding is that in both cases we had a role of attention, but it acted in a different manner based on the conflict that each scene triggered to your participants. Like the more complex the scene, was led to overestimation or underestimation of time, because when it's super complex, then attention is focused on information processing from the scene, while when it's not, when it doesn't demand that much of an effort to resolve the conflict, because it's too obvious that it's out of reality, let's say, then the attention is again focused on time. Is that correct, or I got it wrong?
No, indeed, we had this difference even with the attention manipulation, but I would say that attention has the same role in both cases, but for the semantic violations, there are maybe other aspects that we need to investigate or further investigate in the future. which interacts even with this manipulation, and we can have a strong findings and a strong overestimation, let's say, as we have for the syntactic violations. But yeah, again, the difference between the contrast and no contrast conditions was significant even for the semantic violations. So we believe that it is a result of attention, but in the semantic violations case, we need to see what other aspects interact with this, let's say, manipulation we have, and we don't have a strong findings.
Okay, so I guess we will wait and see shortly, because again, this is another new research path in my understanding. So today we had new input for the research, both in the theoretical part and the methodological part. I'm referring to both presentations of you guys. I see the time, so if there are more questions, I guess that the speakers are happy to receive any follow-up email. So thank you for sharing your work with us and all your innovative ideas. We're looking forward for our next journal club, and you will receive details shortly. Thank you for attending, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.